Well, good morning. Welcome to Zen Live. Zen Live Friday. So, it's watching Morning Joe with my morning coffee. It's like the Trump and the White House and the whole thing is just imploding this morning. Instead of win, it's fail. Just the opposite of the great promise. You'll be bored with winning. Well, we're getting bored with Trump. But anyway, so this morning, I was when I came downstairs. I have my books upstairs in my meditation room, and this caught my eye, and so I brought it down to read again. I don't buy new books now because my library is so full. I have more Buddha books than Barnes and Noble, so I'm rereading a lot of my favorite teachings, and I've been reading Ken Wilber, and then I picked this up, and it's in my own way, autobiography by Alan Watts. And while I was on the computer this morning, checking in my emails and whatnot, a response. I write answer questions on Quora, and somebody thanked me for my answer and said that this was the only Sangha she had. And so I wrote a response to that, and it began to question my own Sangha, because I came here in 1981, fresh out of the Sangha in the sky, which was the ashram of in Ganesh Puri of Swami Muktananda. And for those who were in Siddha Yoga and following devotees of Swami Muktananda, Ganesh Puri was kind of like the city on the hill. I mean, if you were the Harvard of gurus, the palace of the king, the magic kingdom of Disneyland, the place where you could be healed, where you went to the source, the headwaters of the Ganges. It was all combined in one with Ganesh Puri, because Muktananda talked about Ganesh Puri with in his ashram there with such love, and that was where his guru lived, Swami Nityananda, who was just a big sage sadhu who sat around in his loincloth, and he stopped in this little forgotten place called Ganesh Puri because he had some springs there, hot spring or something, so he liked to stay there, and an ashram group around him, and people would come for healing. And these sadhus, these sages of India, were like that. They might be sitting on a landfill dump or something, and they didn't need anything, and if you were in, and they may not even talk to you, but in their presence, shit happened. Good stuff. Healing, energy. You got back in alignment. It was like a spiritual chiropractor that you just had to sit with them, and you got in alignment with your own life, you see, and with the cosmos, the life of the universe. And they just sat there doing nothing. They didn't need anything, but they responded, and so this was Nityananda, and then Swami Muktananda became his devotee, and then when he was ordained as a Swami, became a guru in his own right, a Swami. And remember, a guru is in the Indian context is well, it's kind of like an office. It's a function. It's a function, and it's not so much something your personality does. There is no personality when you become a guru. There's a surrender to being the guru. And you have to leave your personality at the door. Although you still take the shell of your personality. but the center of your ego, your investment in I, is left at the door. And so you can't really choose to be a guru. It's something that happens to you. And so anyway, so Muktananda became the guru, and when he went to the West, he created portable ashrams wherever he had hotels, and he always referred back to Ganesh Puri. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So anyway, I came to Southside Virginia, fresh out of Ganesh Puri, all ready to create a meditation center here, an outpost of Siddha Yoga, like a Christian would go to China in the old days and create a Baptist outpost, you see. So I was kind of like a yoga Baptist. I was going to come here to convert the secularists, to convert the modern, the lost, and to what I had found, you see, to what I had found. Anyway, so anyway, there was no. So as I wrote to this person, I explained. I really thought about what happened to me when I came here, because there was no. Well, let me get back to this point. I wrote up here the last words that when the Buddha died. And again, the Buddha is not a person. It's the awakened one, and we're all Buddha nature. So the Buddha said when he died, take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The three jewels. That's all you need. So, but we really need to understand that, because the Buddha is not a historical person that you take refuge in. No, the Buddha is your own true nature. So you take refuge in your own true nature, and the Dharma is the teaching. And the Dharma would be not just the Buddha teaching, but all wisdom teaching, all the wisdom teaching of the age, the non-dual teaching of the transcendent way would be the Dharma, and the Sangha would be when you a company of like-minded people, the company of people who support your path and your search. So these are really open-ended refugees here. And when I reflect on what I've been doing here since 1981, since there was no Sangha here, there was no I couldn't create a Sangha, although I tried. There was no like-minded community here that we could all get together like a little a bunch of communists in the basement, plotting. There was no little group of people, Boy Scouts, sitting around a fire with the monsters running around outside. You see, there was no. I had no and could not create any like-minded community here. So I had no Sangha. And the Dharma I found in, there's Dharma in Alan Watts. So I shopped around. I found Dharma in many places through books. And so the Buddha nature, now this is another dimension here that I've discovered, is that it starts out. Well, let me go back to here. So anyway, we're looking at the Buddha. When you are in a place, and I'm sure many of you are, where there is no like-minded community that you can go to for refuge, you are pretty much an explorer on your own. So you have to create your Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And the Sangha can be created by, all it takes is two people for a Sangha. And that other person can be a teacher, can be an author, a writer. This was Joseph Campbell's way. His Sangha was finding like-minded teachers in books and then reading everything they wrote and then reading everything that inspired them. So he followed the scent of Dharma, you see. So it's the scent of Dharma that you follow. It's the scent of your Buddha nature. It's the scent of your Buddha nature that is the Dharma. that you follow. And the Sangha is basically the teachers, the support, the resonance, where you have the scent of the Dharma, you see. So the scent of the Dharma is the scent of your own true nature. Now your true nature is sensed as the beloved. I know this has been my, when I first started this whole transcendent way back in the 60s, I was in such a state of inconsistencies in my nature, and I yearned for completeness and healing so much that there was this scent of wholeness that I could sense in teachings. Thomas Merton, Alfred North Whitehead. You can sense the beloved in the teachings by the resonance with your heart. Your heart responds to it. It's not so much an intellectual response, so that's part of it, but there has to be this heartfelt resonance, a tuning fork. It's like in a piano, if you hit C, the C that octave next will vibrate, but the strings between won't. So you get ding, and then up here ding, and then ding, you see, and these don't. That's resonance. There is no physical communication between the two, between the C's, but they resonate. So this resonant of a chord is the Dharma, in the sense that a teacher writes and you resonate. Although there is no physical, you can't intellectually know why. There's no physical connection. They may be dead. It doesn't matter. The Dharma is the resonance, is the resonating tune of your beloved. And the Buddha, then, Buddha nature, which is you, is your beloved. But we long for it because we are not, because there's longing. When there's longing for it, that means two things. It means you already know what it is, or else you could not long for it or yearn for it, but you don't realize it because there's yearning for it. You see, so it's like the self yearning for itself in time. So that leaves a scent of the beloved that you sniff with the nose of the heart. The heart sniffs it out, not the mind, because the mind is split. The mind sees everything as two. I and you, I and it, you see. The mind is the consciousness that we live in, experiences the manifestation of being as two. But the beloved is one, you see. So we're searching for the one. We're searching for the one that is my Buddha nature. When the Buddha awoke, he said, "Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the most honored one." Now that is not an objective statement about himself being the biggest one among many, you see. It means the Buddha is the one without a second, and that is a subjective statement from I. It is not an objective statement of I and it. I am bigger than all you its. I'm the biggest it here. That's an objective statement, and that's not what the Dharma is. So the Dharma would be a subjective I. So the beloved is the most honored one that has no second. So that honored one is unity consciousness with the world. You're not separated from the world. And yet, from the objective view, you still are, because you got to catch a bus and you got to work, have a house and a job, and do all things, as many as an object in the world, you see. But at the same time, your Buddha nature gives you the heartfelt sense that you are one with the world, even though you are separate from the world. But our culture has divided, has chopped with an axe, chopped off the subjective and left us only with it, We're a little bitty it in a world of its, and we're longing for the beloved. We're longing for the subjective I. And we can't even talk about this because it doesn't even fit our map. It doesn't fit our understanding of the world. It doesn't fit our logic of the world. But now I'm going to make a leap here, so please hang in here. But metaphorically speaking, Trump is basically teaching in a perverted way the message of the Buddha. What? Trump's not a Buddha. He is teaching a perversion of this formula. So when he says, let me restore America, let me be your voice, he's saying basically, you and I, talking to his people, we are the honored one. There's one self, and we're going to awaken that one. You see, I am number one. I'm the president. I'm number one. We're going to awaken that number one is awakening through me. And if you vote for me, then you will awaken as the one through me too. So we'll all be the one, you see. That is the most honored one. And so the Dharma then is basically what he says. And the Sangha is the people who vote for him and support him. And do not object or doubt, you see. And this is true in any religion. You get a little religion or group there. It's held together by a belief in the single doctrine, the one that holds it together. And the sin is doubt. You can't doubt this. You can't object. You can't doubt. You see. You can't question. So this is kind of like, this is the Trump rise is kind of like, is a, and I really hate to connect Buddha to it, but maybe the idea of Trump saying, I alone throughout heaven and earth am the most honored one. Because that's total absolute narcissism. I am the one in an it world. So what he's saying here is, this is not the subjective view. It is the perversion of the subjective in the objective world. The objective world of its, which is a map, you see, and Trump is saying, I alone am the most honored one among all these its. So in order for me to be the most honored one, you see, in order for me to be up here, then everybody's got to be down here, you see. So I alone am the top of the tower. I alone live in the penthouse. I alone live at the top of the floors, and everybody else is on a lower floor. And so that is the Sangha. And the Dharma, of course, is what I say. You see, and so there's a perversion here of a spiritual blueprint, because it's being put into a flat world, an objective, materialistic worldview, you see. And it doesn't fit. It's a perversion. It's destructive. It creates demigods, autocrats, Hitlers. This was Hitler's formula. I am Germany. Trump says, I am America. Hitler said, I am Germany. Germany is me. Krishnamurti said, you are the world and the world is you. Buddha says, you are Buddha nature and Buddha nature is you. But they're not, Krishnamurti and Buddha are not talking and speaking from an objective materialistic worldview. They're speaking, they're not even understood from this viewpoint. You see. Because the only way to understand what the Buddha's teaching is for you to realize that the Buddha is you speaking from you. When he says Buddha, you are Buddha nature, that means you are potential Buddha. You are potential awakening, not Buddha as a thing. A thing is an it world, an it. Buddha's not an it. Buddha is your I. Buddha is your I, you see. Your sense, your knowing, the seer, the knower of all the its, you see. So that is a fundamental paradigm shift. That is a paradigm shift that will crack your world open. When the realization rises that I am not my thinking. Now thinking creates an I and an it. There's a thinker and all the things he thinks about. The thinker and the thoughts, you see. That's I is the thinker, and the thoughts is it. Whether the thought is a chair or a lamp or a value or a belief or whatever. If it's either a mind it or a material it, is still a duality of I and it, you see. And the it can be mental or physical. But that's the grid. And the Buddha teaching shatters that grid. It doesn't remove it, it just creates a shift from yourself as an it to yourself as an I, the most honored one. So when the realization, the mere thought of your Buddha nature rises, there is this sudden rise of the beloved. The beloved is the one that has no second, you see. And that you recognize. You laugh. It's a joyous reunion. It's the reunion of when your beloved is coming from the war or coming on the airplane and you go to the airport and you're looking and you see and you go running. That's the feeling of the beloved. I see you. I see you. We are one. The tension of the separation, the yearning, the longing is over. Oh, and we are one. You see, that's the feeling of the heart for the beloved. And the beloved is not out there. The beloved is your own Buddha nature. Or if you want to put it in the Christian context, your Christ nature. It doesn't make any difference whether you say Christ or Buddha in this teaching. You see. So the words can get us confused. Well, Jesus is my thing. I don't think Buddha. No, forget that. We're not talking about an it. In the I, in the awakening I, there is no it. There is only I. You see. In my own way is the way of taking refuge in the Buddha nature as your own nature, as the most honored one. And that is an awakening. You can't find it on the map. You can't find it anywhere. You have to awaken to your Buddha nature. You have to awaken to your unity consciousness with the world. You have to awaken to your unity with the world. I am the world and the world is you. But at the same time, you're still in it, in a house, at a job, catching a bus, getting sick, stepping in dog poop, whatever. But the shift has happened. And you step in the dog poop, you get the job, you get fired. All these things happen to you as an it, but you're not it, you see. You are the most honored one that holds all this it, you see. The center has shifted from being a little think, or a little it, a little marble in a pile of marbles, to being that which holds all the marbles. Thou art that, you see. Thank you for dropping in, and I'll see you this evening with a martini.